Hi everybody, this is Linda. Welcome back to Stamping School. So I'm going to be playing with Eden's Garden this week, and I'm going to show you 5 different ideas using this. You may have seen this around a lot lately on videos because demonstrators could pre-order this last month and now it's available to customers. Eden's Garden is a suite of things that will be available until January 3rd, and then this bundle right here, the stamps and the dies, will carry over into a new catalog. So these will carry over, but the accessories will not. So let me show you what those look like. And you can get them all separately. You can get just the dies, or you can get the stamps and the dies, or you can get just the paper or the cotton paper or the gems. These are going to be while supplies last. Like I said, these will be carrying over into another catalog. The gems are really pretty, and they had warned us that these may sell out quickly, but they are still available. The gems are soft succulent color, and then this is supposed to be more the evergreen, but there's a little tint of burgundy or red to them. So they're pretty for the holidays, but they're pretty for every day also. And these kind of look like petals to me, but those are very pretty. The paper has the gold in it. It's specialty. So here are the 6 designs. You can kind of see there's some gold flecks in there. And there's the other side. This one is an evergreen and gold pattern. This one is soft succulent with gold and little speckles on the other side. This one is the soft succulent and gold with a little bit of white. See the shimmer? Yep, and little dots on the other side. This one has both the greens in it. So what's interesting is most of the samples I've seen with this suite are all green. And my friend Stephanie said it's a lot of green. Like, I agree, it's a lot of green. Green is very useful though, because it goes with lots of things. So I'm going to show you some things that aren't all green and things that you can do with it. Look at this, how pretty that is. That's kind of cool. So that's the 12 by 12 papers. You get 2 each of those sheets. And then this is the cotton paper. The cotton paper is so interesting because it's got like a, it feels almost like a parchment. So it's matte on one side and it's a little glossy on the other. You can kind of see there's a little sheen to this side. It kind of feels like tissue paper, but it's a little stronger than that. So I'll show you one project that I use this for. You get quite a bit of that in one package. And then the dies. So this is what the dies look like. You can get the dies by themselves, and I almost think, like, here's a stamp set. There's nothing in here that cuts the stamp set. Although I really love this sentiment here. It says, "My heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything." I really like that one. And these are really nice. This one's a little tricky. I'll show you a way to do that because it's one of those distinctives, and sometimes they're a little tricky to ink, but I'll show you a tip on that. All right, here's a closer look at the dies. There are a set of 5 dies, and they're all the frames, which I'll show you some different things you can do with those. This one is an edge die, and it's open on this side and this side, meaning it doesn't cut here, so you can make this as long as you want, which I like. And this little floral frame, this big one right here, and there's a little bitty one that does a single, which has disappeared. It's around here somewhere, but it does a little leaf swag like that. And then this sentiment one, which to me looks a lot like the Animal Outings die. If somebody has that die, let me know if that's similar or it layers with that, because it's very similar to that one. So now the introductions are out of the way. Let me show you some projects. The first one is an easy one. This is just a piece of evergreen cardstock and a 3 by 3 square, and this would work for any paper, any theme really, because this is a 6-inch die, so it's about 6 inches. You can cut it once and get a 3-inch piece here, cut your paper 3 by 3, and just add your little border up underneath there, and then string on a sentiment, and you're good to go. This is a real easy layout. Now this one is just with this stamped in the background. Let me show you some tips to stamping with one of these distinctive stamps here. I'm going to use coral. So it's distinctive because they've etched the rubber, and if I ink it up, you'll probably be able to see it. So see how some places are more inked than others? I don't know if you can kind of see it shining on there. So Sometimes if your ink pad is extra juicy, what will happen is, with these stamps, when you stamp it, it gets this outline around the edge. And if you like that, that's fine. And you'll kind of see the difference in the way that I was stamping some of these. Some are a little heavy on the outside and some are lighter, but they're meant to be shaded and sort of artistic. So if your ink pad is sort of new or you just recently re-inked it, what I like to do is take an ink block, and if you have the ones with the soft edges, that's better. You don't want to ruin your pad. And I just scoot the ink over to the end, to one side, and make it a little less juicy. I use this because the ink is dye-based, as long as you're not using a permanent ink. It's dye-based, it's gonna rinse right off. I've seen people use their bone folders, which stains them up, which I will not do, or a spoon, but you want something. Now you can kind of see how I scooted the ink down to here. And now when I ink up, it's less juicy, and you'll see how it's softer. See, now it looks a little bit better. It just looks less gloppy. I don't really like to mess with my stamps too much, so sometimes with these distinctive ones, I do it as a background, which is what I did on this one right here. So I inked it all up in the background, and then I ran it through the embossing folder, and then I just added the sentiment from that die right here. And then this right here is from the meadow dies, these little die flowers right here, and I just added some of those. So I really like this label. It's just different and fun. So then after you're done, just scoot your ink back over and disperse it back again. So, and as long as you're not using something sharp, you can get that ink back, and it's kind of good to do once in a while anyway. Keeps your ink nice and even. Now the little ones are easier, and I love how they're shaded and they look sort of artistic. And the sentiments are nice and bold. Those stamp nicely. Now here's an idea using the cotton paper. So that cotton paper, like I said, kind of feels like a strong tissue paper or a parchment paper. You can kind of hear it, right? So on this one, I crumpled it up and we did like a faux silk background with it. You're just gonna open it up, and you could glue this right down, but I wanted to put it on some paper to make it look better. And on this one, I did it on white, but it's gonna look better on the soft succulent, so it kind of matches. A glue stick to me works the best for this technique. That way you get kind of all of the edges and all over the place. This is a 3x4 piece of cardstock, and I'll put all the measurements for each project up for you so you can print them all separately if you want to. Okay, here, this goes on top like this. Press it down, and then you get that nice linen look, or silk look. It's faux silk, it's not faux linen, it's faux silk. And then I took one of my dies, this is that little scallop guy right here, and cut it out, and then I used it right here. And you might recognize this, my little bird's nest, because when I saw this piece, I thought it reminded me of a nest. So I cut it apart, and I just sort of cut it in little pieces and then put it down to make it look like a nest. Now I cut mine out of crumb cake cardstock, and then I just added my soft suede blends, just kind of dotted around to give it a little texture. And I just used all these little bits and pieces and trimmed them off nice, kind of stretched them out and made my little nest that way. And I added some cork back here, and then the birds are from Free as a Bird. I just cut these two out right here. And there's that sentiment that I love. My heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything. And it's got a little texture back here. All right, so that's idea number 3. Idea number 4 is using this big frame here. Now, I'm really not one for an oval frame. It's pretty, but you know me, I like things kind of square. Not everybody does. So I did this one. This is Blackberry, and that really pretty designer paper from the annual catalog called Simply Elegant back there. And all I did was cut down the frame a little bit. So this piece of Blackberry is 3 inches by 4 inches, and then I cut the same scallop square in the middle for my sentiment. So I just took this, and the same way that I did with the bird's nest, I cut it apart to make my frame. And I just built it all the way around to make it square. And then I was thinking, well, gee, well, you could probably do it with this one, the edge piece. So if you had two of the edge pieces, which, by the way, remember I said that they're open-ended, so those of you that are scrapbookers, you could do a big 12-inch piece this way and keep it going and run it this way. But I thought, well, you could do two of these, but as long as these two were the same, you'd have to make sure this is perfectly straight and the same size. Here, I'll demonstrate it on this piece. But I think it would be really easy to run it across this way and then trim it down. So you could run one here and then run this piece up this way like this. So if you really wanted to do that, you could cut a few of them and make a frame like this. But honestly, this way might be easier because you're only cutting one frame. You don't have to run it through 2 times. But you're just gonna cut these in pieces and make a square, and I glued them down. And the gems that I have on there really pick up like a purple, and that's those same gems from the Eden Suite. They have like a little, they're kind of a chameleon. They sort of pick up whatever you have near there. So I just added those around. And the stamp set is Tidings and Trimmings, which I grabbed that sentiment right there in the middle. So I really like this one. I like the frame this way. All right, so that's project number 4. One more. This one is green, but I'm using different paper. This is the Tidings and Trimmings 6x6 paper, and I love this print that's in there. But you could honestly do this fold for anything. It's a gatefold card using that edge. And then on the inside, I used the little guy to frame out the sentiment. So this edge will go right in between these two layers. So for those of you that haven't done a gatefold card before, you need a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of paper. And then you're gonna score it at 2 1/8. And then I turn it around and score it at 2 1/8 again. And then, or you could just fold it together to meet in the middle like that. And that makes your gatefold. Now these pieces of paper, because this is 2 1/8, you can do 2 inches, but then you're going to need to make it a little bit longer. We normally do 5 1/4. You're going to need to do 5 3/8, or you got to cut the card down a little because it's such a teeny little border all the way around. So on one of your panels, you're going to add a little bit of adhesive right along the edge and right where that stitched edge is. So you want to make sure that you can see that pretty stitching. You want that pretty stitching to show. Trim off the excess and then glue it down on your card. So it sort of covers everything, and that gives you that pretty edge. So I was thinking you could even use it like a money holder this way if you made it a little smaller. So imagine this was shorter that fits a 3x6 money holder or something. This would be pretty this way also. A pretty wedding invitation. It can go this way. So that's why I did it this way. So, but you could easily do a card this way also. And this is just a little banner that I thought might be able to hold this down. It holds it down pretty good. Not perfect though. Probably need to be a little bit longer, but this is very delicate here. So if you really wanted it to stay down, you might want to do a belly band, but I did the little Tidings and Trimmings star, and then I got crazy with all those little gems, and I added gems all the way around it. A little overkill on the gems, but it's pretty. But I really love this edge die, and we have had a lot of edge dies over the years, but I love that these are 6 inches, so really you can do a lot more with them. Oh, and something else I didn't show you. If you're tired of green, you know you can sponge that paper and the gold will resist. So I did navy on this one. I haven't done a project with it yet, but I'm gonna do something. But it's so pretty because all of your regular ink, your dye-based ink, will resist that gold. So you can sponge it and get a whole other color. All right, there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.